Hi, I'm Dave Monty and welcome to my video series, Everything Villages. Today we're going to talk about insurance and we're going to talk about rising premiums. We're going to talk about when you need to replace your roof, and it's nowhere near as bad as everyone believes it is at this point, so stay tuned. As always, if you like this video, please hit like. If you like my channel, please subscribe to it. Both those actions help these videos reach more people, and I greatly appreciate it. Also, if you'd like a copy of my free 42-page guide, Buying and Selling a Home in the Villages, you can email me right here at davemontysales@gmail.com. I also got a nifty cost of living / budget calculator for the villages. You can also email me right here for that copy, davemontysales@gmail.com. All right, as I mentioned in the introduction, we're going to talk about insurance, and I keep hearing all these comments from buyers and sellers about what needs to be done, how much things cost, and most of it isn't true. And I'm going to talk where I think those the misbeliefs are coming in, as well as what the reality is. Right? So yes, there's some insurance issues in Florida. You got rising premiums. You got insurers getting out of Florida. Your insurers are asking their clients to replace roofs. Some at 10 years, some at 15, some at 20. So we're going to talk about where everyone thinks it has to be at 10 years, and I'm going to explain where I think that's coming from. And now they're starting to ask for hot water heater replacement if you're insuring a newly bought house with an older hot water heater. So that is true, but that's at 20 years, and we'll talk about that. It's not a huge issue. So let's debunk myth number one. We're just going to go straight to what I'm hearing from my clients. Homeowners insurance is going to cost us $4,000 to $6,000 a year. Now, the answer is that is not true. That is more of what it's going to cost you down at the coast, not here in Central Florida. There are some insurers in Central Florida that will charge you probably, on an average size house up to $3,000. But I'm going to show you the quote that I just got, and you're going to be pleasantly surprised as I was. All right, you need to replace your roof after 10 years. Nope, you don't have to. I believe most people in the villages probably have their insurance through the villages, insurance brokerage. Brokers have national companies that underwrite policies for them. I believe that the villages predominantly uses Travelers to underwrite their policies. I do believe Travelers is asking for people to replace the roofs after 10 years. If you're being asked to replace your roof after 10 years, shop around. And I'm going to show you where to just shop around here as well. Okay, so you don't have to replace your roof after 10 years. Easily, you can find someone to do it up to 15. With a little bit more homework, you can find someone who does it up to 20 years. Now, you probably pay a little bit more for the insurance premiums for older roofs, but you don't have to replace them at 10 years. That's just silly. Not calling you silly if you believe that. Silly, someone's asking anyone to replace a roof after 10 years. And we do have insurers that are leaving Florida, basically to reduce their overall risk to catastrophic failure, hurricanes. You do have insurers that are being shut down for insolvency. In other words, state regulators go in, they take a look at the books and said, hey, in the case of a catastrophic failure, you don't have enough money in order to support your clientele. So, you're not meeting the regulatory compliance of the state. So the state has been shutting down some of the insurers. All right. Now, why are companies leaving? Why are there rising premiums? Hurricanes, large-scale destruction, when those come in, billions of dollars worth of claims against the insurers. It's causing some to not be able to handle it. I know out west you have wildfires, and I know some of the insurance companies are pulling out of California. Same thing's happening in Florida, but there's plenty of other insurers who are filling in that void. The other one that is causing insurance companies pain is fraud by roofers, by homeowners. I lump homeowners in there as well. You hear, hey, I just got my roof replaced for $1,000, and you think, oh, great, my insurance premiums just went up. The roofers are going to come in and they're going to ask the homeowner, can we go up on your roof and check for hail damage? And the homeowner knows that their house has not been hit by hail recently, but the roofer comes down and says, hey, look at this ding. This looks like hail damage. Homeowner says, great. They go and submit a claim. the claim is denied. They get lawyers. That's the next little level here. They get the lawyers. Lawyers come in and say, hey, look, per your contract, if it looks like hail damage, it is hail damage. So you need to replace the roof. Due to how the policy is written, now the insurer is on the hook for the roof as well as legal fees. And those legal fees can be hefty, $75,000 to $150,000 sometimes. Now, I would not want to be an insurer in Florida. If I take a look at, these are two of the largest injury law firms in the world. They even brag about it, largest injury firm in the universe. You can't drive around without seeing a Dan Newland billboard saying, Dan just got me $300,000. Dan just got me $3 million. Like I'll use right here, $3.5 million. Well, this guy, if he's getting $3.5 million for a car crash, he should probably not be able to point. Meaning, you see commercials on TV, people basically dancing around saying, I just got $1 million. Thanks, Dan. And I always thought the big rewards for personal injury in a car accident were reserved for people who actually got really hurt versus whoever has the best lawyer. So I don't know exactly what it is in Florida, but two of the biggest in the world are in Florida. Okay, so that will cause, and that's more on the car side, and we're going to show you that as well. But in general, that is throughout sort of the legal, I'll call it industry here in Florida. Now we'll talk about when you need to replace your roof and the importance of kind of shopping around, right? Your insurance broker, probably the Villages, says, hey, your roof's getting to 10 years old. We're going to start jacking up your premiums until you replace the roof. Usually that's a large national insurer that's underwriting that, and I'm thinking it's Travelers in this case. That's their policy. You have to replace after 10 years, but you don't. You just can switch insurance companies and save the money. The insurance broker that I use to get some quotes, they've got 43 people that underwrite. They have 43 companies that underwrite policies for them. Okay? Now, from 0 to 8, 0 to 10 years old, probably all 43 are perfectly fine with writing policies at a reasonable rate for roofs that are 0 to 10 years old. Some of them start to drop off, between 9 and 14 years old. Some of them start to drop off when the roof reaches 9 to 14 years. Even more drop off. So fewer and fewer companies will insure roofs that are older, but there are definitely some out there. Now, most likely your premiums are going to increase the older your roof gets, but you don't have to replace it. The insurance company can't force you to replace a roof. They can just keep increasing your premiums. Okay? So anyway, shop. If someone says, hey, you need to replace your roof at 10 years, pick up the phone and call somebody who is perfectly fine with insuring a roof that's about that age. All right. Now, from a buyer's standpoint, you don't necessarily have to worry too much about the age of the roof. And why do I say that? Probably the number one question I get from buyers is, how old is the roof? When I'm dealing with a seller and the roof is approaching 15 years old, I'm telling them, hey, in order for you to have a marketable house in this market, the way the buyers are thinking now is that you pretty much have to put a new roof on in order to sell the house. If that isn't done before the home is listed, what will end up happening is the home will stay on the market for a long time. And then by the time it's been on the market a long time, because everyone says, I don't want an old roof. I don't want an old roof. I don't want the expensive $12,000. Then you get somebody who says, okay, I'm willing to do it, but now they're just going to negotiate the price down. Okay? Or it's already reflected in the price. And that's probably the worst thing you can do if you're going to list your house is we'll reflect it in the price, because you'll reduce the price of your asking price by $12,000, $15,000, but the buyer doesn't see that. The buyer just knows that it's an old roof and it's going to cost them $15,000, so they're going to try to negotiate you down. So the best thing to do is actually replace your roof, because your house will sell quicker and that will not be a bargaining chip for a buyer. Okay, so from a buyer standpoint, when you're looking at the market, most of the roofs are newer. Now, kind of a little of anomaly there. What do you do when the roof is between 10 and 15 years old? 15 is that magic number, not 10. What do you do in there? Kind of smarter sellers at that 13, 14 year mark are, probably replacing it. between maybe 10 and 12 and 13, they're not. Now, what's interesting when you start taking a look at the villages, it gets, older homes are way north and they start getting newer as you go south. Well, up north, where the homes are already 15 to 20 years old, most of the roofs are new up there. Currently, where we're in the sweet spot of the villages where everyone wants to be is between, the Sumter Landing and Brownwood. And, so in that area that we're just north of County Road 466A and Sumter, those homes are in that 9 to 10 year old range. So the sweet spot of the villages right now is kind of, it's kind of no man's land on the roof. But we can address that on an individual basis. Sellers now also, if the home's getting about 20 years old, they are asking for the hot water heaters to be replaced because it's a fairly inexpensive fix to mitigate kind of a large insurance claim, because water damage can be very expensive to insure because you're ripping insulation out of walls, you're replacing floors, you're replacing drywall. It can become an expensive fix. I promise you I'm going to show you my insurance quote for my house, but first I'm going to show you my auto. The reason I'm going to do that is that this is what prompted me to go get new quotes for my house. I've been with USAA for 37 years. I was paying about $300 a month for auto insurance. Now, auto insurance in Florida is expensive. Again, from what we just talked about, you got the biggest personal injury law firms in the world are located in Florida for a reason. Okay, so so auto insurance can be fairly expensive. I was paying $300 a month through USAA. I got my new bill. My policy came to an end August 11th, and I got my new bill, and it's $500 a month, $6,000 a year. Now, I don't have a speeding ticket. I've got a clean driving record. My wife says I drive like an old man. My wife has a clean driving record, no accidents. We don't have expensive cars. We got 2 SUVs. I've got a Toyota Highlander. She's got a Jeep Cherokee. So a couple of SUVs, which can be a little bit more expensive, but $6,000 a year. When I went to this new insurance company, here is my cost right there. This is a 6-month policy. So let's say $2,700 a year. I saved more than half on my auto insurance. Well, who would write something that inexpensive? Well, this is Mercury Insurance. When you Google them, they get very good Google reviews. The rating is really good. I know a lot of people that use Mercury. So I'm comfortable in being insured by them, because I typically think of insurance as handling catastrophic things, not the little things. But in general, I will try a not as big company for saving $3,000 a year. That's just me. So we're going to take a look at my homeowners insurance here. And now we'll give you some caveat here. I don't live in the villages. When I say just outside the villages, about 1,000 feet that way is the villages. The reason I don't is because we wanted a view. And, when we moved here 4 years ago, the view was not priority on our list. But we still wanted a little bit of a view. So just outside the villages, we've got a 2,300 square foot house. It is block and stucco. We have a little bit of a view in the back, which doesn't affect the policy here. But I'm just kind of explaining why I don't live there. If I move my house 1,000 feet that way, I got to pay another $400,000 for it. Okay, so that's why I live in Lakeside Landing. Now, newer house, 5 years old, 2,300 square feet, stucco. My insurance went from about $1,600 to about $800. Again, I saved about half. I bet you if you go get insurance in the villages, stucco, 5-year house, you go to the villages broker, they're going to pick up travelers. You're probably $2,500 annually. Frontline, again, Googled them, decent reviews, a lot of reviews. A lot of people use them here in the villages. So that is right. So that's not $4,000, it's not $3,000, it's not $2,000, it's $800. You can find affordable insurance. Now, if my house was approaching 15 years old, that this would probably be about $1,500 or $1,600. Okay, so because I have a new roof, it does really drive the price down. Now, the next question you're going to ask is, where did I get this quote, right? And please don't rush to your email and ask, because I'm going to show you right here. This is where I got my quote. So in other words, please don't email me to ask me where where I got my insurance quote, because I'm giving you the information right here. It's also in the description down below this video. So this is where I got my quote. Just a caveat, they did not pay for this. I don't get paid a dime by this company. I have referred several clients to them. They have done good work for my clients and have gotten them pretty competitive quotes. Okay, so no kickbacks, no anything, not paying for this plug or anything. But that's where I got my insurance quotes. Now we have talked about the hot water heater. Yeah, the insurance companies are asking to have these replaced at about 20 years. That's not that big of a deal. Every circumstance is a little bit different for the buyers and the sellers. Usually, if the hot water is about 20 years old, a lot of times the seller and buyers are splitting that cost if the seller's selling the home with an older hot water heater. But it really just depends on the circumstances. All in all, it shouldn't affect someone's ability to buy a house. We're talking about $1,000 installed for a new hot water heater. Sinkholes. You can't talk about insurance without talking about sinkholes. Now, put this one up because this one's pretty fun, right? People are very nervous about sinkholes all over the place, and they happen. Typically, they happen on roads, on golf courses, where there are water pipes. Most of the sinkholes in this area are man-made, just like this one. You know, the driver's sitting in the car at the bottom of a sinkhole, and you can see what caused it right there. There's the water main break that caused that sinkhole. Today is August 16th, and on August 15th, I recorded this entire video. I'm sitting back on my lanai with my wife, and my wife says, hey, there was a sinkhole in the Villages yesterday. And I'm like, oh no, I got to redo my video. So I did redo the video. And this was the sinkhole. Again, in the road, man-made, okay, not near a house. So most of the sinkholes here in the Villages are man-made, either on the golf course or here. Every once in a great while, maybe I'd say once every 3, maybe 4 years, you probably have a natural sinkhole that might affect a house. Should you get sinkhole insurance? It's $400 to $500 a year. I don't have it. I'm not saying don't get it. You're more likely to have your house struck by lightning than you are to even come close to a sinkhole. So basically, it's up to you. $400 to $600 a year. Now, the reason I don't have it is because if it's a natural sinkhole, usually it's large and usually it's catastrophic. Your current insurance policy covers catastrophic failure like this, but it has to meet these 4 criteria. It has to be an abrupt collapse, has to be clearly visible to the naked eye, it has to have caused building and foundation damage, and it needs to be structurally condemned. If it does not meet those criteria, then your insurance will not cover it. So what do you mean by that? Well, this might be sinkhole. It might be normal settlement. When it's not, it might be a little bit beyond normal settlement. Okay, but when you start seeing cracks like this, the house isn't going to be condemned. The slab probably is in decent shape. It's not catastrophic. It didn't fall into a hole. This is what sinkhole insurance covers, something like this. Now, I've never seen this in the Villages. We often will see a stair-step hairline crack in the stucco, which is perfectly natural. Most homes have them, and they're even considered cosmetic. It even says it in the contract that it's considered cosmetic. Okay, so the insurance companies will not insure this. Now, what do they? Why is that the case? Well, if this is normal, there's no way to determine whether this is normal settlement or if there's actually a sinkhole. Well, the engineers are going to come in and basically call it a sinkhole. They have to come in and secure that property from settling even more. Basically, they pour concrete in columns all the way down, all around the property, all the way around the foundation to really compact the soil or make it stronger. It's almost like putting roots of a tree, but made out of cement to hold the soil together underneath the home. That's an expensive project. Again, it's probably just normal settlement, and the insurance company doesn't want to pay for normal settlement of a home. Again, when we talk about $400 to $500 a year, Flood insurance. I don't have it. Again, I'm not saying don't get it. I'm just giving you the information so you can make an informed decision. The villages is flood zone X, pretty much the entire village. There might be a home or two, that might be on the water's edge or, maybe built too close to a pond or something. But in general, 99.99% of the homes here are flood zone X. You don't have to worry about it. Less than 0.2% chance of flooding. You think of Florida being flat and you think of Florida having a lot of rain and you go, wow, there should be a lot of flooding there. The ground here is sand. So when it rains, it just basically, it almost go straight into the ground. Most homes don't have gutters on the sides of their houses here. They only have them at entryways. So you don't have water pouring off the roof and hitting you as you're walking in the house. As an example, we mentioned earlier, we live on a pond. If it rains all day long, nice, steady, hard rain, the pond does not raise at all. If we have a 5-minute downpour, and that happens in Florida, just massive downpour, then you get runoff. That runoff will fill the pond up real quickly. So, you got a foot of a rise in the pond within 5 minutes. But that steady rain never makes it to the pond because it sinks right into the ground. In summary, roofs. Probably the magic number is 15 years, not 10 years. If you're a buyer, don't worry about it. Most of the sellers will replace the roofs at about 15 to 20 years, especially if they want to sell the house. Sellers, have a conversation with your realtor if you're going to list your house. I highly recommend if it's about 13 years old or older, replace the roof. Because what's going to happen is you're going to try to save that $12,000 to $15,000. Your house is going to sit on the market, and it's going to end up costing you more in the price of the home than it is to replace the roof. If that home sits for a long time, the sellers are coming in and they're going to try to negotiate the price down because it doesn't have a roof. So highly recommend, if you're going to list your home, around that 13-year mark is probably the magic number to replace the roof. Sinkholes, they're naturally occurring. Most of them in the villages are man-made though. Roads, golf courses, I don't think it's something to worry about, but sinkhole insurance is only $400 to $500. Flood zone X, the chance of flooding here is very small. But again, flood insurance is a couple $100 a year. It's not that expensive if you want it. Now, if you need a quote, remember, please contact them directly because, again, they did my insurance quote. I recommend them to my buyers. I don't get any kickbacks. I don't get paid for any of this. But if you need a quote, there's the number to call or the website to go to. As always, like I said, if you like this video, please hit like. If you like my channel, please subscribe to it. If you like a copy of my free 42-page guide, Buying and Selling a Home in the Villages, or my cost of living calculator / budgeting tool, you can email me right here at davemontysales@gmail.com. I hope to be seeing you around the villages. Take care.